Hello everyone. This video presents a notable event that happened on each day from the past week in history. On July 21st, 1864, Frances Clara Folsom was born in Buffalo, New York. 22 years later, in 1886, she married the President of the United States, Grover Cleveland, becoming the youngest First Lady of the U.S. ever. But wait, there is more. After Cleveland had a timeout by being out of office for 4 years, he became the only U.S. president to be elected and serve twice in non-consecutive terms in 1893, thus making his wife Frances the only First Lady to serve 2 separate terms as First Lady of the U.S. Educated at Wells College in New York, Frances became a widow in 1908 and remarried in 1913. Some interesting trivia about Grover include the fact that Grover's real first name was Stephen and his first vice president was Adlai Stevenson, the grandfather of Adlai Stevenson II. On July 22, 1962, the U.S. space agency NASA launched Mariner 1, the first in a series of probes designed to visit other planets in our solar system. After several delays in launching the spacecraft, the rocket lifted off and drifted off course, necessitating an abort procedure that resulted in blowing up the ill-fated spacecraft. The Mariner program consisted of 10 unmanned spacecraft to be launched into space to visit other planets and gather information for NASA scientists. Venus, Mars, and Mercury were flown past by Mariner drones, the first man-made craft to fly by and even orbit other planets. Additionally, the Mariner program was the first to use gravity-assisted acceleration, using planetary gravity to help propel the craft. The 7 successful Mariner flights from 1962 to 1973 paved the way for follow-on space programs. On July 23, 1900, the icon of national niceness that is Canada turned a cold shoulder to immigrants, instituting a policy forbidding paupers and criminals from entering the country. While the U.S. currently has emotional discussion about immigration into the country, illegal and legal alike, the fact is many countries have struggled with immigration policy. Religion, ethnicity, skin color, and cultural considerations have often affected immigration policies or the lack of welcome on the part of the current inhabitants. While many countries have a positive view of immigrants, Pew Research indicates many have a negative popular opinion of immigration, including South Africa, Israel, Poland, Russia, Italy, Greece, and Hungary. France is somewhat ambiguous about immigrants, generally recognizing their contribution while a prevailing anti-immigrant opinion permeates society. What do you think about immigration policies? On July 24, 1980, a quartet of Australian swimmers took the Olympic gold medal in the men's swimming 4x100-meter medley relay race, the only time an American team failed to win this particular event. While the U.S. has dominated this particular event, the 1980 Summer Olympics in Moscow, USSR, was plagued by politics, and the U.S., along with 65 other countries, boycotted the Games due to the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. Australians, certainly among the greatest swimming nations, produced the quietly confident quartet, a self-named crew consisting of Mark Carey, Peter Evans, Mark Tonelli, and Neil Brooke. Despite numerous disciplinary violations, clashes with swimming authorities, and a government that did not want the men to compete, the 4 pulled off the upset win at the Olympics, beating the Soviet team. Who is your favorite Olympic swimmer? On July 25, 1984, Soviet cosmonaut Svetlana Savitskaya exited her Salyut 7 space capsule while in orbit, thus becoming the first woman to ever engage in an EVA, or extravehicular activity, in space. Most of us usually call such activity a spacewalk. The U.S. has had 56 women in space, and the world has now sent into space about 75 ladies. The Soviets were the real pioneers with women in space, with Valentina Tereshkova becoming the first woman space traveler in 1963. The Soviets did not send another woman into orbit until 1982, with the U.S. finally launching their first female astronaut, Sally Ride, in 1983. Oddly enough, cosmonaut Savitskaya was not only the second woman in space in 1982, but she again made history with her spacewalk in 1984. On July 26, 2005, Mumbai, India received an incredible 39.17 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. Mumbai is the most populous city in what is now the most populous country in the world, with 12.5 million inhabitants. Obviously, such an enormous amount of rain created massive flooding, and sadly, about 1,100 people died in the floods. To put this enormous amount of rain in perspective, Cleveland, Ohio, a typical U.S. city, has a record 24-hour rainfall of just 4.59 inches on September 7, 1996. The contiguous state's U.S. record for a single day's rain is a massive 42 inches on July 25 through 26, 1979 in Alvin, Texas. The island of Kauai, Hawaii, got soaked with 49.69 inches of rain in a day in 2018. On July 27, 1789, the Department of Foreign Affairs, now called the Department of State, was created, becoming the first of many U.S. federal departments and agencies. How many agencies and departments does the federal government currently have? We have 15 cabinet-level departments, each led by a secretary appointed by the President and approved by the Senate. The most recently added department is the Department of Homeland Security, added in 2002. Meanwhile, we now have a staggering 438 federal agencies. Despite this enormous growth in bureaucracy, there have been some departments eliminated or consolidated, including separate departments of the Army, Navy, and Air Force, and the erstwhile U.S. Post Office, now designated as the United States Postal Service and still run by a Postmaster General, although no longer a cabinet position. As a question for my students and subscribers, which event from this past week in history would you most like to learn more about? Please let me know in the comment section below this video. If you liked this video and would like to receive notification of new videos, please feel welcome to subscribe to History and Headlines and become one of our patrons. Your viewership is much appreciated. For image, audio, and other credits and attributions for components of the individual videos in this compilation, please see the descriptions of their respective videos, which are linked to in this video's description.